me decorating my Christmas tree, I wanted to start off my first video in December in a very festive way. So I was struggling to decide what I wanted to do with my videos in December. Like everybody is doing a video a day. I'm just so inspired by everybody else that I still wanted to do something and do more videos in December, so that's what I'm going to be doing. As you can see here, it's not really focusing that well, but it does say, oh, I'm really sad. It says 12 days of fitness. So that's something that I did 2 years ago, but it was more vlog style, and I think I did a vlog every 2 days. This year, I'm gonna do more of these style of videos where I just chat with you guys and what I eat in a day, workouts, favorite videos and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm gonna do 12 videos instead of 24 or 25, but I'm really excited. We're a week into December. I can't believe it's gone by this fast, but it always does. Today's video is a hamstring workout, so I am not glute or hamstring dominant. I'm very quad dominant. So that's why I invest so much time in figuring out what is the best way to train glutes, and I also have done the same with hamstrings. I owe all of my glute and hamstring gains to very well thought out ways to do exercises and ways to structure my training. So I'm gonna share that with you guys today. This workout absolutely killed me. Oh my god, I was very sore from it, which by the way, I always want to say that's never indicative of how much your training caused you to build or break down muscle. It has to do with a lot of other factors. Anyways, the soreness does let you know that you actually did target that muscle. So yeah, I was super sore throughout my entire hamstring, so I know that I targeted that proximal and distal part of the hamstring. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up and subscribe and click the bell notification if you haven't already, because that will let you know when I post a video. So yeah, let's get started with the workout. I started off my workout with this exercise. So this is an American deadlift, which is essentially a Romanian deadlift with an exaggerated bend in the knees and therefore more of a glute focus. I am sitting back and pointedly bending my knees so that I can press the weight up with my glutes a little bit more, similar to what you would do with the conventional deadlift. As it is a hip extension movement, I still am recruiting the hamstrings, but most of the focus, as I said, is on the glutes. So as you can see here, I'm sitting back, and on the way up, I'm squeezing my glutes. I don't pull the weight and arch my back leaning backwards, because this actually does the opposite that you want it to. As you lock out, you want to keep your torso in a neutral position or slightly lean forward, and this will keep the tension on your glute. Right here, I'm moving directly into a Romanian or a stiff leg deadlift, depending on what you call it. And what I'm doing here is only bending my knees very slightly just so that I can hinge back at the hips. It's actually important to keep a slight bend in your knees because your hamstrings are a biarticular muscle, meaning they cross at both the hip and the knee joint. So giving them some slack in the knee is actually really good because it allows them to have more room to contract, if that makes sense. So a slight bend is a good thing. Locking out your knees, on the other hand, is best for just stretching and flexibility. Another thing to note with this variation is that I am lowering the weight and thus my torso a bit more, allowing for a deeper stretch in my hamstrings. And as you might notice, on the way up, I'm not actually locking out completely at the top, but what I'm actually doing is contracting my hamstrings at the top rather than my glutes, so that I keep all of the focus on the hamstring. So by kind of stopping the movement short here, you will feel much of a better activation. Definitely give this variation a try if you have an issue with growing your hamstrings like I do. This really helped me. Okay, so just to summarize, the first deadlift variation is a glute-focused one. You're bending your knees a lot more so that you can sit back, allowing you to push through your heels and engage your glute. You're really trying to make the ascent explosive, powering through with your glutes all the way up and locking out at the top. On the other hand, the hamstring-focused deadlift variation is more of an eccentric exercise. So we're concentrating on lowering the weight and resisting that motion with our hamstrings and allowing for a nice deep stretch. In this variation, we're only having a slight bend in our knees just so that we can give our hamstrings something to pull against on the way up, and we're also not locking out at the top. This is keeping the glutes out of the movement so that we can contract our hamstrings and keep them recruited throughout the entire range of motion. Next up, I have a very similar superset to the last one I just showed, but this one we're using a landmine instead of the barbell. So this actually changes the loading pattern slightly, and it gives you a nice pendulum motion, which keeps more tension loaded on the glutes and hamstrings in the top end of the range of motion. I'm doing a conventional style landmine deadlift, hinging at the hips and allowing my knees to bend quite a bit, squeezing my glutes at the top of each rep. Similarly, moving on to the landmine version of the Romanian deadlift, the same movement pattern that we were doing before with the barbell, slight bend in the knees, taking time to lower the weight, and not completely locking out at the top, giving the hamstrings to have a chance to contract to their fullest potential at the top end range of the motion. For this superset, we're doing 12 to 15 reps of the landmine deadlift, followed immediately by 12 to 15 reps of the Landmine Romanian deadlift. I personally like to do higher reps when doing hypertrophy exercises targeting a muscle that I have a hard time activating, because this gives you more time to practice the movement pattern, establish a mind to muscle connection, and helping you recruit the muscle that you're trying to work. For the third exercise, I'm doing one of my favorite hamstring exercises. This is a pull through, and this was the original purpose of the pull through. So I've done squat throughs where you bend your knees and sit back into the machine to target glutes, but this was the first ever pull through that I learned, and it's actually meant to target hamstrings. It is killer. You guys definitely need to try this one out. So what I'm doing is all of the movement is hinging at the hips. It's just a hip extension movement. So you can see that my knees are bending slightly just for the same reasons that I mentioned before. I do have a wider than shoulder width stance just because I have quite long legs, but you can definitely try it with a shoulder width stance as well. I'm focusing on pulling through my hamstrings and keeping them engaged throughout the range of motion, specifically using them to resist the stretch on the way down. That part of the movement, or the eccentric, is most important for actually tearing down the muscle fibers, which is one of the 3 factors that cause muscle hypertrophy. And that is especially effective for the hamstrings, so this is a great hamstring builder exercise to give a try on your next hamstring day. For this exercise, I'm doing 10 to 12 reps, and as you can see, I'm doing them nice and slow, and I'm doing 3 sets of that. Since all of the exercises I've done thus far have been hip extension movements, I'm now going to finish off the workout by doing knee flexion movements. So as I touched on earlier, the hamstrings actually cross both the hip joint and the knee joint, meaning that they're going to help straighten out the hips, which is hip extension, and bend the knees, which is called knee flexion. So you have to do both of these to properly hit your hamstrings. Prone hamstring curls are one of my absolute favorite knee flexion exercises for hamstrings, but it's super difficult to find a lying hamstring curl machine in the UK. I don't know why, but literally they are so rare. It's really frustrating, but I finally found one in this gym, so I was just gonna do like so many of these. I started off by doing 3 sets of 10 to 12, making sure that I controlled the weight through the entire range of motion. It's really important that you adjust the machine so that it fits your body properly and that you feel comfortable on it. You don't want to use your body to swing the weight up at all. You have to remain completely glued to the bench, and specifically only move your lower leg so that it's just your knee joint and your hamstring that's moving, curling up the weight. If you want a little bit of extra challenge and to ensure that you're hitting both hamstrings evenly, definitely give this one a try. I do 10 reps on my left leg, then 10 reps on my right leg, and then 10 reps on both legs. By the end of that set, your hamstrings will be burning. It is so good. Finally, I finished off with this exercise. So if we weren't to have done the single leg hamstring curl before, this would serve as the one single leg exercise in this workout. I've mentioned this before, but I always like to do one unilateral movement in order to ensure that we're balancing out both sides. Some gyms do actually come with a kneeling hamstring curl, but I have not been able to find one here, so this is what I like to do in order to make do without it. So I actually use the leg extension, and I just adjust it so that there's more room to be able to fit through it. I sit up with one knee knee on the bench, and I rest my knee / the bottom of my quad on the edge of the seat just to keep my leg nice and steady while I curl up the weight. This one is very difficult. I put it on the lowest weight possible, and I think I can manage 10 reps on each side, and I like to do them nice and slow as usual, making sure that I control the weight all the way down, and I contract my hamstrings all the way up, making sure to not swing the weight at all. Okay guys, so that's it for this video. Yeah, so this shirt here is the double up long sleeve. It was just released, so it's on the website now, and this is just the top part of it. It's like a 2-piece set. It has a tank top that comes with it as well. So yeah, just in case you're wondering, and I was wearing that in the workout. Okay, bye.